Hey guys, welcome back. So in today's video I'm going to be doing my review of the Interstellar Song Contest. Now, going over my initial thoughts, I did really enjoy the episode. I would say that we probably spent a bit too long in the corridors. I felt like that took up a big chunk of the episode. That's probably my biggest nitpick of the episode itself. Talking about the reveals as well, starting with Susan, I did unfortunately had it spoiled because I accidentally went on Google and I actually saw a news article saying a companion has returned after 40 years. I didn't know who it was, but I was, in my head, I was trying not to think about it, but I was trying to work out who it could be, and Susan did cross my mind, so it was semi-sport, so I was a bit numb to the surprise, although it was brilliant to see, and I'll get into that a bit more later. Talking about the other reveal as well, Mrs. Flood, again, a great surprise. I was a bit numb to it though, because I felt it was a bit predictable, her being the Rani. I was expecting something slightly bigger, but still, nonetheless, it was really enjoyable, and I'm really glad they've done it. I'm glad to see the Rani back, although it doesn't explain the full breaks, but as I think Russell T Davies said once, we might never get an explanation to that, so there's that anyway. But yeah, I was a bit numb to the surprise, I think probably because it was quite hyped up, even by Russell himself, saying about how there's going to be big surprises, so I was sort of expecting them. So it did spoil it in a way, but nonetheless, it was great to see, and it was a great episode. So let's get into my proper in-depth review of it. The cold opening was done very well. I did very much enjoy it. However, I would say that we didn't spend enough at the actual Eurovision sort of Interstellar Song Contest itself. I feel like it was very hyped up to be the most expensive episode, and while, yeah, you could tell that they put a lot of money in, I wouldn't say it come across as the most expensive episode ever, and I don't feel like we spent enough time actually in the Interstellar Song Contest, because after like the first 10 minutes, and that was really the end of the Interstellar Song Contest. So a bit disappointed to see, and it didn't feel really like that we had the 4 songs. We were promised that Murray God made 4 songs that we'd be singing along to at home. I don't feel like we really got that. We just got glimpses of it. It wasn't actually like, say for example, the Goblin song where it played an actual part. It just felt like it was more background. So I feel like those things were promised and sort of raised people's expectations. It certainly raised mine, and it didn't quite live up to it. However, I still really enjoyed it, and the cold opening was a great cold opening. I really enjoyed seeing that. Watching it back, it is slightly confusing how Ryland was suspended in cryogenic sort of sleep, I guess you'd call it. But yet Graham Norton died along with the rest of the planet. I wonder why Ryland and how Ryland got saved. So for me that doesn't quite make sense, but it's great to see Ryland in it, and I really enjoyed his appearance. As I did with Graham Norton, I'm not probably the biggest fan of Graham Norton, but he did really well in this episode, and I liked his hologram version. But where I am more of a fan of Ryland's, and I thought he did really well. And it was great to see Ryland play a fairly big part in this episode, which was nice to see. Also, talking about the Interstellar Song Contest itself, it was brilliant to see the Doctor and Belinda sort of talking about what Eurovision meant to them, and again it was great to see Belinda talk about her family, and the Doctor and Belinda have their own private booth, so I really enjoyed that because I thought that was really cool. I also loved how we got to see behind the scenes of the Interstellar Song Contest itself. I thought that was really cool, sort of seeing how they done it, and also watching Doctor Unleashed and seeing how complicated it was at the same time, with them having to match the scenes with the screens. So when you see that, you sort of really appreciate it even more, which was really cool. So I really liked all those things, and for those of you who noticed, I did wonder it at first, and I have found out that that is a reused shot of Trenzin-Law. As I said, we'll delve into Mrs. Flood a bit later, but it was great to see even her not being able to resist watching the Interstellar Song Contest. And later on, when the roof sort of exploded and popped, it was great to see that even she was subject to it. It sort of helps raise the stakes, but I'll get into that scene a bit later. But yeah, it was great to see Mrs. Flood even not be able to resist watching the Interstellar Song Contest. Now, talk about the couple whose seats the Doctor and Belinda took. I must admit, especially at the beginning, I didn't very much care for them. There was nothing there really that I thought was interesting about them, but what I will say is the robots were really cool. However, I felt they were severely underused. That was like one of the only scenes we had in them, and then the only other scene we had was when the Doctor blew their heads off, and that was quite easily defeated. So that's quite a shame, because I thought their voice was quite cool and how they looked was quite cool as well. But as I think that I've seen in the trailer that we do get another shot of them in the next episode, I believe it is, so I feel like they will be coming back, which is great, because I do feel like they were slightly underused, unfortunately. Like I had with the couple at first, where I had some sort of teething issues with them. Also with Kid as well, I felt at the beginning he didn't feel very menacing and like he had control of the situation. It felt slightly rushed, but as you went on, he did become quite an evil villain, which was quite cool. So as the episode progressed, he definitely got better, and it was great to see, for those who noticed, the reference to Alpha Centauri and the Zygons as well. In a way, it does feel quite scary how Ryland lost contact with the people behind the scenes, knowing what was going on, and I liked how Ryland just sort of did the show must go on and just continued with it, which was really cool. How he would do himself in real life, as he said in Doctor Unleashed, so that was really cool. But I must say, that scene where the roof pops and they all go up is probably one of the darkest and best scenes we've had this season. I just feel like the way it was done was just really well done. I just really liked how they done it, and it feels like Doctor Who's own version of a terrorist attack in a more intergalactic way. I just thought it was so brilliant how it was done, and you really saw, I've personally felt like really like the pressure of the situation, how deadly it was. It just felt so real, because these things do sort of happen at concerts. We've had it happen before, so this is just sort of Doctor Who's version of that. But knowing it's happened to people in the past, and them all being together, all being stuck, it just really sort of makes it so much more serious. Like, I just really thought the way they done it was just really cool. The way the alarms went off, they stopped singing, everyone was looking up, even Mrs. Flood was looking up worried, and the way they all went up in the roof, and the way all of the bodies were going up with the screaming. I just thought it was really dark, sad and tragic, but done so well. And I really, as much as you can enjoy one of these sort of scenes, I really did enjoy the way they done it. I liked how the TARDIS flew up and Belinda was worried. I liked how the Doctor went up into the outside as well, into space. So I really did enjoy how they done all of it, and it just comes to show just sort of how scary that sort of thing is. And I did like Ryland's scene as well, because it adds a bit of comedy to this dark moment, although it was still dark nonetheless. But yeah, this has to be at least my favourite scene of the episode as well, just because of how dark it was and how scary it was, and the way the alarms went off. People didn't know what was going on. It's just something that does happen in real life, unfortunately. So yeah, I just feel like that adds some more depth and just some more emotion and sort of tragedy to the actual scene itself. So yeah, I would say that scene was done incredibly well. It was a nice reference back to Series 1, the Delta Wave that Kid had, for those Whovians who spotted that. I spotted that straight away, and I was like, oh, I really like that reference. So that was really cool. And to be honest, it was great to see the Delta Wave in effect as well, because we've had it mentioned of what it can do, but never actually seen it, so that was really cool. Although, does anyone know why the Doctor kept wiping his nose after that? He did it a few times, and I thought, what was that for? That's just something that I spotted that I just couldn't let go, really. And also, talking of Belinda as well, moving on to Belinda quickly, it was great to see her separated from the Doctor and just be so panicked and worried, and then also really appreciate how wonderful the Doctor is and say how she needs to tell him that. It's just great to see how they've progressed as characters throughout the series as well, especially Belinda. And it was also great to see how she kept asking the singer, where was she? But she kept mentioning it, and she was like, well, where's that? It's just come to show how lost Belinda was. So it must have been really scary for Belinda. But again, it was great to see that, and it sort of adds weight to the gravity of the situation, or the mavity of the situation, as I should say. So that was really cool to see. And talking of the Doctor's development, especially in this episode, it was great to see him go darker, like his own Time Lord victorious moment for the 15th Doctor. Although I would say that having the ice in his heart, for me, doesn't completely make sense of why that made him darker. Yeah, ice in your heart does make you darker, but he physically had ice in his heart, but I don't know why that made him darker. So for me, that sort of doesn't make sense, really. But again, it was great to see anyway. Let's talk about the big first reveal as well, because that links in with the Doctor. It was brilliant to see Susan back, aka the original Carol Ann Ford, and I've always said we should really bring her back and capitalise on that, because we are very lucky to still have her, but unfortunately that won't be forever. So I'm glad they have brought her back. I think also partly why it wasn't a shocker to see her is because Susan was mentioned so heavily in season 1. Of course, it was the end of the cold opening in The Legend of Ruby Sunday mentioning Susan, so it wasn't a great surprise to see her back, and the Doctor said that he would probably try and find her at the end of the Empire of Death, so it wasn't a great surprise there, but it was absolutely brilliant to see. I really liked how they filmed it as well, and it's really good to see her call him grandfather as well, because I know that was something that John Nathan Turner didn't really want her to mention when she returned for the 5 Doctors, only because he didn't want people to sort of think about the Doctor basically having sex. So it was great to see that they have sort of called him grandfather, and it's great to see that link back as well, and to see the original as well is just absolutely brilliant. So I'm over the moon that they brought her back, and of course we'll definitely be seeing more of her, as she said at the end of that first scene, find me, so I'm sure the Doctor will, and it was great to see her sort of appear in the episode as well. So all of that was really cool, and I really did enjoy seeing her. Just playing devil's advocate though, I would say that although it was absolutely brilliant to see her, there's no doubt about that, I feel like this scene, having her appear to him at this stage of his life, partly doesn't make sense, only because the Doctor's been in so many life or death situations, and probably worse than that, and she hasn't appeared to him. So for me it doesn't completely make sense, but again that's just sort of a nitpick really. It was great to see her anyway, and of course when the Doctor does come back to the Interstellar Song contest, it was great to see him sort of come back and the way that was done and all of that. That was very sort of Eurovision, the way he come back. But I will say as well, if you spotted as well, that was the same airlock that was used in Space Babies, so that was sort of a nice callback to that. And it was great to see the Doctor sort of introduce himself when the other character said insane genius, so that was really cool. But what I will say is as well, some of the shots where we had really up close to the Doctor's face for those few minutes, it just felt really unnecessary and uncomfortable. I just thought they were really odd how they filmed those really up close shots. So I don't know what the thought process was behind that, but I wasn't too much of a fan. I must say, I did lose count how many times they mentioned the word Mavity this episode. If you sort of played a drinking game and drunk every time they said Mavity, you'd definitely be drunk by the end of the episode. I've never been too much of a fan of the Mavity thing, although I am sort of getting used to it. I just hope it's explained one day. Also as well, I also personally felt when Belinda saw the Doctor on the screen, it really felt like the Subwave Network thing where Rose saw the Doctor but Rose couldn't see the Doctor, so I thought that was quite cool as well. And of course when that singer was mentioning about how some species don't understand other species because they're scared, straight away I think most of us probably knew that she was one of them. I personally thought the hair was covering the horns. I didn't actually know that the horns were cut off until we were actually shown, which was quite sad. And it was quite sad how they were sort of forced to be cut off as well, because that is part of their identity, and it sort of reflects what some things happen with certain races of the human race as well. So that's really sad to see, and I really liked how that was a sort of subtle thing about how that happens with certain races as well, so that was really sad. I did enjoy the Doctor's confrontation of Kid on the screen, and of course when he actually saw him in person as well. I also liked how Kid said that The Last of the Time Lords is a good name for a band, which is very, very true. I've never thought of it that way, so that was really cool. And it was also great to see Poppy Honey play such a big role in the episode. I just thought it was just something to throw away. I didn't realise how much of a big part it played in the episode. And again, it sort of goes back to the horns as well, because this sort of thing has happened in human history as well, where people have sort of colonised and taken things over, and then it's the people, the indigenous species who have been wiped out. So really, again, it's really great foreshadowing, just sort of subtly sort of reflecting human history, which was great to see. And again, it was really, really sad. I feel like the hologram idea was a very clever idea by the Doctor, and that was brilliant to see. And I must say, I probably shouldn't say this, but I was quite happy when the Doctor was shocking Kid, because he was willing to kill 3 trillion people and then all of the people at the Interstellar Song Contest. So personally, I was quite happy to see the Doctor get his revenge on him, although I do think he went too far. But part of me was like, yes, keep going, because he absolutely deserves it. So probably shouldn't be like that, but oh well. And it was great to see that even Susan couldn't break the Doctor out of it, and it was great to see Belinda see the Doctor like that, because she's never seen the Doctor like that before. So that was really well done. I was really glad to see that. And I will say, at the end, it does sort of feel like Kid would be returning. It was interesting the way they sort of had that discussion, and that the Doctor said how he would always have that ice in his heart now because of him. So that's very interesting. I feel like that's subtle foreshadowing that he could return. I don't know why they would make him return, but it's a possibility. So for me, that felt like that wasn't quite over there. For me, I wasn't the biggest fan of the revival scenes. I thought they were a bit silly and a bit unnecessary and went on for just a bit too long. But talk about when they did come back and Ryland and the co-host was sort of presenting the Interstellar Song Contest. I felt really bad for Ryland's co-host because she seemed really sweet, and I felt really bad she hurt her eye. So I felt really bad for her. But yeah, it was great to see them back after that. And as well, it was really great to see Cora doing her singing as well. It was really emotional. Even I got a bit upset at that, just because of the whole meaning behind it. Of when you understand the meaning behind the song, it just comes to show that it just really adds so much more emotion to it. So it was really sad to see, and it was brilliant to see when she sort of mentions that she was that race, everyone started booing her. And then of course when she sung, nobody sort of did anything, and then the couple started clapping and everyone sort of clapped and cheered. It felt very Eurovision that at the end, so that was really lovely to see, and it was just brilliant to see how that sort of progressed. And yeah, that was really sad. I must admit, I got really sad when she was doing that singing, but brilliant to see, and I'm glad everyone got behind her in the end. It was great to see the Doctor and Belinda bond at the end of the episode as well, just before the Graham Norton hologram come up, and it was sort of great to see how the hologram sort of shifted in tone when he sort of mentioned the destruction of Earth. And I liked how Graham Norton sort of started the cliffhanger as well, and how the cause of the Earth's destruction was unknown, but it happened in just a split second, so that was really cool. And I will say, just before we get into the last bit of the scenes of this, it was also great to see how the Doctor seeing 3 trillion people being killed sort of triggered off the way he acted. So I'm really glad we sort of got that explanation, because I feel like the ice in his heart doesn't make too much sense of why he would act like that. So it's great to see him seeing all those people dying reminding him of Gallifrey, which does make sense as to why he sort of acted that way, so that was really cool. And the end scenes as well, the Doctor and Belinda, absolutely brilliant to see how the TARDIS went off and how the sounds was May the 24th and how all the alarms were going off, the cloister bell and all of that. That was really cool. Although the TARDIS door's exploding, when I saw that, I just thought, I'm not too sure. I think that's a bit silly, because I feel like if they're actually going to continue that, how could the TARDIS doors just explode? I mean, for me, it just doesn't make sense. It felt a bit silly the way that they just exploded, and that was the end of the episode. It just felt very abrupt and a bit silly. So I'm hoping that that's going to be explained and how that could happen, because for me that just sort of doesn't make sense. So it's going to be interesting to see how they continue that on, for me personally, at the beginning of the next episode or in the next sort of 2 episodes, if that's explained, because for me it just felt very abrupt and silly how the doors explode and that was the end of the episode really, except of course the last post-credit scene. So for me, not entirely a big fan of that, but the alarms and everything else and Graham Norton's warning was very, very cool. As for the post-credit scene, it was great to see Mrs. Flood finally revealed. Again, not a big shock, but it's absolutely brilliant to see the Rani back. Again, quite predictable, but it's really nice to see regardless. I've always wanted the Rani back, so it's really great. I would have loved to see the Rani back when Kate O'Mara was still alive, because I remember there was an interview for the 50th anniversary where she said she was still keen to return. So it's disappointing that we never got to see Kate O'Mara back, but this incarnation seems really cool, and I'm already loving her, so I look forward to seeing what she's like in the next 2 episodes, especially the next episode as well, so that's going to be really cool. It's also great to see how Mrs. Flood is sort of her sidekick as well. I would love to see sort of Mrs. Flood get tired of getting so much basically abuse from the Rani, because we've already had like a minute of it, and the amount of times where the Rani's basically told her to shut up and be quiet and all of that sort of thing. I would love to see Mrs. Flood sort of overthrow her. It's unlikely to happen, but I would have loved to just seen that. So it is really cool how Mrs. Flood has finally been revealed. And I must say, I did actually prefer the bi-generation in this episode than in the 60th anniversary. Personally, for me, it makes more sense now. Although bi-generation as a concept, I've not always been the biggest fan of. But I did actually enjoy it more in this episode than the other one. But I just feel like it's being possibly done a bit too much now. I think we should definitely leave bi-generation alone, and I feel like these things are going to have to be explained. So yeah, the bi-generation is I'm a bit on the fence with, but I felt like it suited this sort of reveal a lot better. But it was, yeah, great to see, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of the Rani. It was also quite cool to see how the line of absolute terror was mentioned and Mrs. Flood saying, "That's what I said." So yeah, it was brilliant to see that as well. And I really like, for those who've sort of noticed how in the last sort of 4 years of Doctor Who, we've had big returns of really famous classic monsters. For example, in 2022 we had the Sea Devils, 2023 we had the Toymaker, 2024 we had Sutek, and 2025 we've had the Rani, and possibly another, because Russell T Davies has said we haven't actually seen the full trio of the Unholy Trinity. So it's going to be really interesting to see who it was. I personally thought that it was Conrad, Mrs. Flood and the Rani, but we haven't actually seen it, and apparently whoever it is has been lying in wait for 160 years. I personally theorise that it could be Missy, possibly, because if you think about it, Jo Martin went to the premiere of the series, and then of course she was in it. Missy went as well, Michelle Gomez. Is it a possibility she could be back? Missy and the Rani together, I would quite like to see that, so that'd be quite cool. I'd also quite like to see Omega. Whether or not it would happen is a different story. Could possibly be the Master, but I would like to see it again. But yeah, I'd prefer Missy really. There's quite a few options, to be honest, of who it could be. I would love to see the Trickster as well. I really think the Trickster needs to come back, and I would like to see it sort of linked in with Ruby. I'd love to see that sort of be Ruby's father, because we've had it mentioned of who Ruby's father is, but not actually seen him. Again, there's a couple of things it could be, but I really hope it's one of them, and I'm really looking forward to finding out who this other one is. I feel like it could possibly be the cliffhanger to the end of episode 7, Wishworld. It would certainly make sense, like at the end of The Legend of Ruby Sunday we had the reveal of Sutek, so that would be quite cool. But yeah, it's great how with the last sort of 4 years we've had a big returning villain. It's great to see so many returning monsters back, because in between like the Sea Devils and sort of Cold War, where we had the Ice Warriors return, or even the 50th anniversary where we had the Zygons return, there was like a 9-year gap of returning monsters from the classic series. So it's great how the last sort of 4 years each year we've had someone return, which has been great as well, to be honest. So yeah, the episode was really cool. I will say it's quite disappointing how we've had no next time trailer. It was great to see sort of clip revealed from Doctor Unleashed, and it was quite a good clip, I would say. We sort of got a bit more of an in-depth insight into the next episode, but I'm a bit disappointed how we never got a next time trailer as well. I would have loved to have at least seen that. There was no to be continued or anything like that. I would just love to see a trailer, so hopefully they'll release it on the Doctor YouTube channel, possibly in the middle of the week, I reckon. Who knows, but it'd be great to see regardless, but it's a shame we never got that. This episode has some big returns and some big reveals as well, and it was great to see. It was a really enjoyable episode, although I will still stick with that. It had a bit too much time in the corridors, really, and I felt like they sort of overpromised and slightly under-delivered with this episode. I felt like it was a lot less sort of Eurovision orientated than I suspected. Like, the first 10 minutes definitely was, but then the rest it wasn't as much. So I feel like the things that were promised, and it being the most expensive episode made and all the 4 songs, I just feel like it was a bit overpromised, so that does take away from it slightly. But again, I really enjoyed this episode, had some brilliant scenes, some brilliant characters, and I just felt like it was probably it was a really great episode, probably one of my favourite of the season, definitely, because it was still a very enjoyable one. I would probably rank it as I probably would have my initial thoughts as well, an 8 out of 10, only because I can't rank it any higher than the Robot Revolution, because I feel like I did actually enjoy the Robot Revolution more than this one. But yeah, so I'm going to keep it a solid 8 out of 10, but that's still a really good ranking for it. Again, I really did enjoy it, it's just that I felt there were some issues with it, slightly overpromised, but again, really enjoyable, had some great surprises, but even those I felt like, with it being hyped up, I just felt like I just was a bit numb to the surprises, whereas if not too much was mentioned about the surprises and the rumours, then possibly, you know, I would have probably enjoyed it a bit more and ranked it a bit higher. But I'm going to keep it an 8 out of 10 because that's still a good ranking. But what I'd love to know is what you guys think. What did you think of the episode? Did you enjoy it, or weren't you a fan? I'd love to know, so let me know in the comments below. And just before I head off, there's something I want to show you guys that I bought from a charity shop the other day. I got it for £10 and I really love it. It's a key cupboard. I did put a picture up on my YouTube of it because I took a picture of it by the beach because I got it from a charity shop, but I just wanted to show you guys this because it's absolutely cool and I really do love it. So just want to quickly mention that, bring it up in the video while I was still here. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the episode itself, the Interstellar Song Contest, and what your thoughts were, and whether you enjoyed it like me or you weren't a fan. So again, let me know in the comments below because I'd love to hear it. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and hopefully see you in my next video soon. Thank you all for watching and take care.